CORAL-ITN is a Marie Sklodowska Curie innovative training network. Its aim has been to provide specialized training to 15 researchers to better understand and support the development processes of collaborative workspaces in non-urban areas in the EU. Through their projects, researchers look into the wider impacts of collaborative workspaces in rural and peripheral areas at the local and the regional level, as well as the level of the individual worker and the enterprise. This documentary captures what CORAL researchers encountered during their fieldwork research when they conducted qualitative research in collaborative spaces within the European Union. It highlights their early fieldwork findings, the discussions they were engaged during our CORAL training schools, and connect them with wider academic and policy debates.
This documentary traces the emergence of such spaces in rural and peripheral areas of the EU.
It explores how they react to local challenges as well as their economic, social and cultural impact.
Most of the collaborative workspaces define themselves as co-working spaces, cultural and creative hubs, business incubators, startup accelerators, makerspacers, and hackerspacers, with no major differences between the ones located in cities and outside cities.
As a pan-European network of 400 peers, we meet every year to take decisions, and we have a representing board that is elected every 3 years. Our board consists of 7 members that have strategic positions, and we have also working groups that focus in different themes, like, for example, sustainability in fashion, or clustering, like, for example, makerspaces, and so on. Every decision is taken from the board and then discussed in annual meetings that we hold in different countries every year. In general, over the last 10 years, we have been working closely in order to address different topics, like, for example, big collaborative workspaces in big cities and how they facilitate the creative needs, but also specific structures, like, for example, in suburban and rural areas, and how those structures will operate and facilitate the area needs more specifically. And we have been building also policies of support in all different levels and different topics, like sustainability, innovation, and the new trends in all kinds of creation in Europe.
Collaborative workspaces have different organizational and ownership structures. They can go from private enterprises to NGOs, cooperatives, and associations.
Ja, unser Coworking Space Frau Ida richtet sich natürlich speziell an die Frau. Und wir vermieten fixe Büros bzw. fixe Arbeitsplätze und flexible Arbeitsplätze. Und wir haben eben das Ziel, also ein vorrangiges Ziel war, überhaupt einen Coworking Space für Frauen zu schaffen. Also die fixen Büros sind nach wie vor den Frauen vorbehalten und wir bieten unsere Räume nach dem Motto Women First.
So the idea of the university direction was to build the farm of the future, which is a really wide concept, and like 5-10 years ago, Fab Lab also was emerging with this open society, community idea and exchange. And also really the idea of bottom-up, like you, I, everyone has ideas and can have knowledge and practice of their activities, and that's really true for farmers, like they have their own way of farming. And sometimes the tools they have are not adapted to what they want to do. And so we merge in a certain way this Fab Lab ecosystem, which is to empower people with new technology. So
we bring the knowledge here to the small, so that we are not always obligated to go outside
Local meeting point for entrepreneurs, for companies, and also for local administration. And I'd say that it's also a catalyst of innovation through all the activities we develop here. So I would say this is a mix of these three things. It's a place to work where a lot of stuff happens.
The main partner who's financing the LEADER project is tourism, the Antal-Traunsee Tourism organization, which is a huge step that they would finance something cultural. And the town is behind it, the local mayor. It's great to see how supported it is.
Und ja, wir sind auch eine Generation, die verstanden hat, dass wir ressourcenschonender leben müssen. Und da geht es auch um den Bauerhalt, den Umgang mit Baumaterial und. Also wir haben da eigentlich einen relativ großen, eigentlich fast schon zu großen Themenkreis, den wir beackern wollen. Am Anfang ist es immer ein persönliches Interesse. Also mein persönliches Interesse ist es sozusagen nicht im städtischen, sozusagen im Stadtgrau irgendwie zu leben, sondern es ist eine Sehnsucht nach einem naturbezogeneren Leben. Und da ist natürlich das Land, das ist es dann halt. Ich habe eine starke Affinität zu alten Häusern, eine starke Affinität zu sich in den Erhalt alter Bausubstanz zu engagieren.
Outside cities, collaborative spaces are more likely to own the space, or this is given to them for free of charge by public institutions.
I'm Emilia Pardi from PUSH, a design lab based in Palermo since 2013. And together with Avanzi from Milan, we established a consortium to co-design and to run the startup phase of a living lab in Petralia Sottana, which is a little village in the northern area of Sicily, in a region called Madonie, a region very full of biodiversity, and that gather about 21 villages with different peculiarity in terms of traditions, local tradition, food and crafts.
We are working on a really diverse way of solution. So when I say we are working, we are welcoming people that have different questions. We don't say this is the good answer. We say we have a bunch of tools and you can work together, and a lot of paths are possible. You have to create your own, and that leads to really different solutions that could be extremely technical or more practice economical model. This is a really wide idea and solution.
Quite interestingly, collaborative workspaces outside cities that opened before 2010 to 2012 are hard to find, suggesting that it might be a phenomenon which spread in rural areas only in the last decade, especially after the COVID outbreak, which encouraged many individuals to move out of cities, especially the ones having the possibility to work remotely.
My name is Elena and I'm the president of the South Working Nonprofit Association here in Italy. South Working is a nonprofit that we founded with Mario here in 2020 during the first wave of the pandemic to create a safe space for people who had come back to work remotely to Sicily, the rest of southern Italy or inner areas of Italy, and who wanted to participate in the change and in the social innovation of the territories that we had to leave to pursue better job or study opportunities. The challenges that we are trying to deal with in founding and managing the NGO have been the historic brain drain that affected southern regions in Italy and in southern Europe, which is the reason why we all had left Sicily in the first place to fight unemployment and to find better careers or even just study opportunities. The idea is that people who are originally from these places still possess a sense of belonging and want to give back to their communities, to their local communities, and they can do so without having to wait for an indefinite future now already, thanks to the possibility offered by remote working and even after the pandemic, trying to suggest a new policy for welcoming to these areas, towns and cities of southern and inner Italy, these type of workers that can work remotely.
In the last decades, collaborative workspaces have also emerged in small and medium-sized cities, as well as remote and rural areas in the EU, offering workspace for freelancers, local entrepreneurs, and remote workers.
Genion Lab surge en un contexto de crisis en el 2012 y está ubicado geográficamente en un punto y en un edificio que se quedó sin vida y al que llegamos para darle una nueva vida y comenzar una nueva historia. Entonces de la crisis se empieza a crear un nuevo espacio con actividades, con formación, con espacio por supuesto de trabajo, de coworking y a partir de ahí empieza nuestra historia.
COMIT was created during crisis years and we all returned to Crete because we were in Athens and to several places, and we started to think more communal, more, let's do shared project. We don't care about, making money. Our values changed a bit. So many, cooperatives started to grow in Crete and all that, and many events and festivals and all that. So yeah, one challenge was unemployment, and the other right now for everyone, it's global, it's the rise of prices, the rent prices and the cost of life. So these are our main challenges in Crete and in Greece. Mm-hmm. So what Crete was missing before we opened COMIT, and since we did it, it was our inner need that led us to open COMIT. So we didn't do it like as an actual marketing plan to see where's the gap in the market to fill it. So it was our inner need to share, a space and to share our values and to create projects and to host social events if we could manage to do that and without profit, and to give the opportunity to cultural teams to host their projects in our space and all that. So this is what was missing for us. So that's why we opened it. So we didn't have like an actual plan on, okay, let's fill this gap. We didn't know about co-working back then, but this was a need as well. So many people started to ask for offices, and it was in the bottom of our main list of what we would host, and then became the first, because this would make our expenses as well regarding to other stuff. So this would support our social and cultural projects.
The fact that we are in a small city, from the public administration point of view, is good because you can be closer to the technicians, to the politicians that make the decision, and it's very nice to develop these programs, strategies, activities together, so it's easier to get their attention. Don't have a lot of resources to develop big plans, and sometimes bureaucracy is really hard even for them, so this is pros and cons. Creating a community of entrepreneurs for any medium-sized city is having a tool for addressing local challenges. For example, in this area that has been traditionally oriented to footwear, and now, of course, young people is not attracted to it. We can design processes, activities to help the youth. What other activities related to this sector can be an opportunity for the future related to 3D design, metaverse, whatever. And we in the community have professionals oriented to these areas.
Il progetto Start Working da Pontremoli è nato con il Covid nel novembre 2020 da un'idea mia e di un mio amico, con l'obiettivo di tentare di ripopolare almeno in parte Pontremoli e la Lunigiana grazie ai lavoratori da remoto. Principalmente perché c'erano 3 problemi. Uno, il fatto che come tante aree interne e aree d'Appennino la popolazione sta diminuendo molto dagli anni 20 del Novecento ad oggi, quindi negli ultimi 100 anni la Lunigiana ha perso 2/3 dei suoi abitanti. Un altro problema che abbiamo notato è che fondamentalmente le politiche interne al momento sono molto e tutte orientate verso il turismo e quindi si sta diciamo creando una monocultura dove lo sviluppo territoriale passa essenzialmente solo attraverso il turismo, e non c'è nulla di negativo nel turismo, ma il fatto che sia solo quello la chiave di sviluppo territoriale crea ovviamente dei problemi e dei danni nel medio e lungo periodo. Il terzo problema è che noi, come forse potete vedere, siamo circondati da montagne, la nostra è una valle, ma le montagne qui non sono solo fisiche, ma sono anche e soprattutto mentali, nel senso che chi è nato, vissuto e cresciuto qua ha una apertura mentale ovviamente più limitata rispetto a chi magari viene da fuori o ha avuto l'opportunità di fare esperienze al di fuori dei nostri confini. Un esempio che cito sempre è che un prete di questa zona recentemente se n'è andato via dicendo che qui l'ambiente era troppo conservatore, e detto da un prete fa un po' ridere. Quindi il progetto è nato appunto per cercare di contrastare da un lato lo spopolamento, ma dall'altro anche di portare in città persone nuove, idee nuove, culture nuove, esperienze nuove, che potessero dare un nuovo impulso alla nostra terra.
Η διάθεση νομίζω προέκυψε από το γενικότερο ενδιαφέρον με τον τόπο μας, ότι κάτι πρέπει να γίνει στο Μεσολόγγι, γιατί βλέπαμε ότι έχει δημιουργηθεί μια αποξητική αντίληψη γύρω από το να είσαι νέος και να ζεις στο Μεσολόγγι. Οπότε αυτό ίσως ήταν η πρώτη πηγή έμπνευσης που απαντούσε σε ένα απλό ερώτημα, το τι μπορούμε να κάνουμε στο Μεσολόγγι για να τονώσει τόσο το ηθικό όσο και την αισιοδοξία, αλλά και να δημιουργήσει και νέες ευκαιρίες. Οπότε έτσι προέκυψε η ιδέα του Μεσολόγγι Πελόκας, που βασίστηκε περισσότερο σαν αρχική ιδέα στο ότι πάλι σε μια γενικότερη αντίληψη που υπήρχε, ότι τι ωραίος τόπος με πολύ ωραία χαρακτηριστικά, ναι μεν μας αρέσει να ζούμε εδώ πέρα, αλλά δεν έχουμε ευκαιρίες ή δεν έχουμε τις υποδομές για να μείνουμε ως νέοι στον τόπο μας.
The main challenges of these areas are related to the population. So this is the main problem they face today, and related to that, the worsening of accessibility to services, to rural services. Of course, if you have less people, you also, don't invest in services. The way out to these challenges is to think to new way of living in these areas, and to find a way out, to find a way to keep people attached and to attract new people here. There are different kinds of innovation, and the kind of innovation we have in mind when we talk about more urbanized area that is mainly technological innovation, is linked to technology. But there are other kind of innovation that are more relevant in rural areas that relates to mainly to social innovation. Social innovation is a transformative action, is a new way to think about who you are, what do you do, what is the meaning of your place, your community, and is very important in social innovation how you rethink relationship between people in places, between places and between institutions. So you have to, start over and think in a different way of solving problems, and that's the way out of the challenges. So think about different ways that don't involve necessarily in technology. Digital transition, technology are tools, but are not the objective. So you need to keep in mind this. And the most important innovation you can have in peripheral areas relates to people, to process, to the way you do the same thing in a different way, the way you rethink agriculture, what can be agriculture. Agriculture can be a traditional activity, but can also be a new way of life for young people deciding to reside there. And of course, to do this, you need to think about a totally different process. You cannot think about the evolution of agricultural as a sector that is modernizing, but you have to think about agriculture as a way of living and people to relate. It's also social things and a cultural things. If you think about this, and you can have a social innovation that becomes a transformative action because you rebuild, you restart everything.
We are not just doing consumable products. We are giving the space or activating people for using the space for themselves. So our intention is to turn this public space into a real common public space, which the people understand differently and have another relationship and another responsibility for it. So they reclaim public space and a space as basis for themselves.
Otello itself are two organizations. So one is the part with associations. So we have around 30 locations. They are organized as associations, independent, and the only thing the glue between our associations is the Otello Charter. We developed together, and it's a democratic process together to develop the charter every 5 years again, to see, to focus on real problems and real local ideas that are coming up and will be integrated in the Otello Charter. This is one thing, and the other thing is we have 2014 we founded a cooperative. So every project idea that becomes a real project where you need staff, funding, or money or partners, we bring it into the cooperative, and in the cooperative it's organized as a self-employment model. So people they are willing to realize a project and also will act as an entrepreneur, can employ themselves in the cooperative and will get the cost center, and then they can realize their projects. And the only rule we have on that is that they have enough income to pay their own salary. So, and organized is the cooperative in the socio-economic model, what means that everything is self-organized in circles, and in these circles we have decisions, and decision making is based on consent. And consent means if there is nobody have any idea that something has to be changed or something is missing, so the decision is final. So that means it's not a basic democracy, but it's a process with follows specific rules that you have this consent at the end.
In the field of education, the cooperative have done a lot of research projects the last years, but always with school partners. At least 5 schools have been partners in different sort of projects.
Mountain Makers is an association. We are a small community of more than 50 members. So I would say it's quite easy to take decisions. The rules, it's based on a duocracy. The one that want to do some things basically do it, long story short. For the small decision, everybody can invest in a filament or in whatever they need for the associations. Everybody knows how much money we have. So again, for the small decision, everybody is responsible of their stuff. They organize themselves when it comes to use the machine, to use the place, so basically they easily discuss with each other. But for the big decisions, duocracy works based on transparency. So for instance, if we want to buy a new laser cutter, for instance, or if for X reason we need to move tomorrow, this is kind of a big decision. So if someone wants to go to that topic, we will invite this person to basically open up the topic. And this is most of the time what happened. People don't care because they have many things to do on the side. They will not say anything and they will just follow the lead. But if someone has something to say, this person will say something, which means democracy then. So it's first duocracy based on transparency, and then maybe democracy gonna come. And this is how we basically take decisions on an everyday life.
Το οικονομικό μοντέλο που βασίζεται ο οργανισμός είναι οι αρκετές πηγές χρηματοδότησης. Δηλαδή να μην είναι μονόπλευρο, για παράδειγμα, από μια επιχορήγηση που μπορεί να πήραμε, να έχει πηγές, η βάση του να είναι οι δωρεές που δίνουν και μια ηθική υποστήριξη στον οργανισμό, γιατί αποτελούν πολλά άτομα που με το μικρό ποσό του καθένα στην ουσία στηρίζει και τον οργανισμό. Αυτό. Και ότι τα υπόλοιπα να είναι συμπληρωματικά. Αυτό που βιώνω είναι ότι πραγματικά νομίζω ενδιαφερόμαστε στο να γίνονται πράγματα αναγκαία. Εγώ νομίζω, που μπορεί να το λέω αρκετές φορές, θεωρώ κιόλας αυτό και ένα ωραίο παράδειγμα από ένα mentoring που κάναμε ένα διάστημα, που εξηγούσαμε τι ωραία κάνουμε κλπ. Και όταν μιλούσαμε, μου κάνει ένα σημαντικό ερώτηση που για μένα ήταν πολύ σημαντικό και κομβικό και λέει: εντάξει, ωραία όλα όσα κάνετε. Θεωρείς ότι είναι σημαντικά? Οπότε νομίζω αυτό είναι ένα κομβικό ερώτημα που εγώ προσωπικά πλέον το θέτω καθημερινά, το αν κάτι είναι σημαντικό. Εμένα προσωπικά δεν με γεμίζει να είναι κάτι απλά ωραίο, προσπαθώ να είναι κάτι σημαντικό, γιατί νομίζω είναι και η διαφορά μεταξύ, εντάξει, ωραία πράγματα, πολλά μπορούμε να σκεφτούμε, ή ζούμε στην εποχή των πολλών ιδεών ωραίων. Το θέμα είναι η σημαντικό, δηλαδή ότι μια βιωματική εμπειρία να έχει και μια προέκταση από πίσω, τουλάχιστον ένα αντίκτυπο που λέμε συνήθως. Οπότε αυτό απαντάει στο πώς το βιώνω. Βιώνω ότι θεωρώ μέσα από τη συζήτηση και μέσα από όλη αυτή τη διάδραση σκαλίζουμε σε πιο βάθος τα πράγματα και κάνουμε και σχεδιάζουμε πράγματα τα οποία δεν είναι επιφανειακά, αλλά είναι σε πιο βάθος.
Después de programas de emprendimiento y de lanzaderas como Petrer Emprende o como Impulsa Cultura Proyecta, aquí en Petrer lanzamos un concepto innovador que fue el coworking de retorno social, el Teisidor, que es un coworking donde las personas alojadas, los coworkers, retornan el valor de lo percibido, es decir, el espacio más el proceso de mentoring, conectando con el tejido asociativo de la localidad de Petrer. Para nosotros fue un programa bastante revelador porque sí que pensábamos o llegamos a pensar en un momento concreto que la empresa privada y el emprendimiento estaba muy desconectado del tejido asociativo de las localidades y que si queríamos de verdad transformar y cambiar ciertas cosas en nuestros territorios teníamos que empezar a crear nuevos lazos y conexiones. Desde Genion llegó un momento en que queríamos hacer crecer el equipo y desarrollar otro tipo de proyectos, a la vez que, ya que en las ciudades pequeñas y medianas hay más cercanía con la administración pública y con otro tipo de agentes del territorio, pensábamos que estábamos desperdiciando todo ese ecosistema si no seguíamos generando conexiones y lazos con ellos. Entonces lanzamos nuestras dinámicas de laboratorio donde reunimos a la cuádruple hélice, ciudadanía, administración pública, empresa privada y mundo académico, y intentamos resolver retos locales, retos y desafíos locales a través de iniciativas de emprendimiento. A su vez que incorporamos a la comunidad del espacio de coworking también en esas dinámicas de laboratorio.
Und die Unternehmerinnen, die vor Ort sind, haben ja auch Kundinnen und Kunden, die eben Frequenz bringen. Und das merkt natürlich der Handel. Wir sind ja mitten in der Stadt. Rund um uns ist Gastronomie, ist Handel. Und das merken auch die Händler rund um uns und die Gastronomen. Und das nehme ich wirklich, also ich bekomme auch die Rückmeldung. Also ein Schuhhändler, der mit mir gut befreundet ist, sagt, na, jetzt war eure Mieterin bei uns und hat mir 3 Paar Schuhe abgekauft. Und das ist eben so positiv. Ja. Es ist wirklich eine Innenstadtbelebung. Ich glaube einfach, dass viele ländliche Regionen eine Freude brauchen.
In one point, it serves the cultural life of the island, the city. So we host, theater and music and all that, because city lacks of spaces, like purpose-built spaces, unfortunately. So they find their base in Comit. We are happy, but there are technical problems in that. So we serve a cultural purpose in the city thing. And we serve, because co-working is part of the tourism industry, I suppose, it's a new thing that is growing, and we serve we are part of it, so I think we participate in a small extent this thing, so people from abroad can come and work and they use the accommodation, the local restaurants and all that.
Il territorio che si formano mettano a disposizione le proprie competenze per lo sviluppo locale, quindi per sostenere imprese, associazioni, eventi locali e quindi creare appunto uno sviluppo territoriale basato su questo. Adesso abbiamo fatto partire, grazie a 2 ragazzi della nostra community, un progetto, per citarne uno, che si chiama Start Talking. Una volta al mese si crea questo evento dove le persone, una volta a turno, parlano della propria terra, della propria esperienza.
Che sono visioni per lo più di un'agricoltura basata sulla qualità piuttosto che sulla quantità, di un'agricoltura organica, di un'agricoltura che non sia predatoria, di un'economia che non sia predatoria, che non sia estrattiva, di forme di capitalismo che non siano estrattive, pur restando nella dimensione, nella realtà che è quasi quella che ci accomuna tutti, di essere imprenditori, partite IVA e così via. Questo è un paradosso probabilmente, però molto spesso anche la nostra idea di sostenibilità all'interno di questi paesi passa per la nostra sostenibilità anche economica, quindi per la capacità di tenere vivo delle realtà economiche che, piccole o grandi che siano, abbiano una possibilità di essere autonome, di essere sostenibili e di non essere per forza di cose realtà che debbano vivere solo grazie a contributi o fondi per. Quindi questa è un po' la sfida che ci troviamo ad affrontare tutti i giorni.
Εδώ κάνουμε διάφορα σεμινάρια, γιατί πιστεύουμε ότι πριν αρχίσει η κατανάλωση αυτών των προϊόντων, οι καταναλωτές πρέπει να ξαναθυμηθούν τι φανταστικό υλικό είναι το μαλλί, το πρόβιο μαλλί. Οπότε είπαμε ότι πρώτα χρειάζεται εκπαίδευση. Οπότε κάνουμε σε ομάδες παιδιών, σε σχολικές τάξεις μάθημα, πώς από πρόβατο γίνεται νήμα, το μαλλί από το κούρεμα και μετά πώς γίνεται νήμα και πώς μπορούμε να το χρησιμοποιούμε στις χειροτεχνίες, αλλά και το τι σώει υλικό είναι, τι χαρακτηριστικά έχει, το ότι είναι θερμομονωτικό, το ότι είναι ηχομονωτικό, ακόμα περισσότερο από θερμομονωτικό, το ότι είναι βιοδιασπόμενο, δεν θα αφήσει ίχνος στον πλανήτη.
So far, we don't find any coherent EU policies that support collaborative workspaces. However, we do find some national and regional ones.
Discussing about the role, the possible role of the presence of knowledge workers and collaborative workspaces in peripheral areas, we have seen that peripheral areas struggle with the idea of finding the right strategies for exploring different development paths. We have seen that local coalitions can be an element of robustness, but they can also be gatekeepers. So to a certain extent, impeding innovators from entering into the scene. So what might be the role of knowledge workers? On the one hand, I would say very important one. On the other, they might easily trigger forms of conflicts with established systems of local interest and rent-seeking coalitions already existing in places. And I also think that it's very important to understand if we are talking about retaining knowledge workers, bringing back knowledge workers, or attracting knowledge workers that come from other areas, because this makes a whole lot of a difference. And collaborative workspaces in this scenario can be, I would say, one of the elements. So they're not the main ingredient. They can be one of the elements, not just because they provide room for innovative ideas and projects, but because setting up those spaces and contributing to maintain those spaces and to animate workspaces is part of the game itself. So not just using them as a location, but being directly, actively engaged in the maintenance and activation of those spaces is a crucial aspect in terms of coalition building, community building, which is a precondition for imagining future development paths.
The impact of collaborative workspaces can be quite diverse. It can range from the economic, social, cultural, and environmental aspects.
And the other thing is we also implemented one Othello directly into a school. That means that it opened up the education system in one hand, because it's open all the time. So it was possible to have a space in the school that is open to public, but also have the possibility to work together with the teachers and also with the kids in the school and create things together, but also bring in new projects and new project ideas, for example, on digitalization, on virtual reality, on even also on regional development, how to create our region in a different way. And so we made in the last years around 7 projects on that and include these ideas in the next project they are upcoming.
The Started Village Forum is trying to be an instrument, to convert into an instrument to revitalize rural areas through entrepreneurship and through innovation. A kind of innovative entrepreneurship that could change the situation by trying to go beyond the traditional policies and the traditional instruments. In this new approach, we would like to reinforce the importance of innovation as a trigger for changing these dynamics and trying to go beyond the local perspective. We are proposing the analysis of the situation of every place, based in this analysis in a place-based approach, but trying to not to reduce the possibilities of rural areas to these local environments, but trying to offer the possibilities these villages to go beyond these local environments.
Wie ploppen Projekte auf. Und das Tolle daran ist, dass wir sind jetzt ganz aktuell damit beschäftigt, ein Kulturbündnis sozusagen auf die Beine zu stellen. Also wir, das heißt diese Menschen, die diese Projekte alle so machen. Wir bauen also an einem Netzwerk, nicht nur um sich sozusagen kennenzulernen, sondern wirklich auch in Verbindung miteinander was zu veranstalten, was zu kreieren. Wir sind da mit so tollen Projektleuten in Kontakt wie die Farbküche in Altenburg, die dieses Projekt oder diese Bündnisgründung auch super, also von denen geht auch ein ganz großer Impuls aus und die moderieren das ganz wunderbar. Also da passiert gerade was ganz Spannendes. Wenn man so einen Blick in die Zukunft richtet, ist es eben so, dieser etwas offene Raum von vielen kleinen Orten und Siedlungen, der rückt sozusagen auch ein bisschen näher zusammen, vielleicht so ähnlich wie in der Stadt Leipzig, wenn man die freie Szene kennt, die muss sich auch irgendwie miteinander stark machen, um eine starke Stimme zu sein, um wahrnehmbar zu sein, sodass es eben nicht heißt, das Land hat nichts zu bieten sozusagen oder der ländliche Raum und dass man nicht immer darstellt, hier ist so ein Projekt und dann kennt man das andere nicht, Ich finde, die Öffentlichkeit muss mehr sehen, was sie eigentlich an positiven Dingen auch hat und wie viel Vielfalt eigentlich da ist und wie viel Engagement da ist und auch was man erreichen kann mit Engagement. Also das ist wirklich, dass die Leute merken, Mensch, wenn ich mich mit einbringe, kann ich eigentlich mein direktes Lebensumfeld doch auch mitgestalten. Und das setzt eigentlich eher positivere Reaktionen und auch Emotionen hervor, sodass man nicht immer nur nörgelt und verzweifelt oder so.